Welcome to Happiness and the City. This is Barbara. Today, I'd like to focus our attention on two issues, two concepts, not issues, two concepts: beauty and life. Let's search what beauty has here in Wiki, which I really love, and I encourage you to support it. So here we have a definition of beauty is the ascription of a property or characteristic to an animal, idea, object, person, or place that provides a perceptual experience of pleasure or satisfaction. So here is a very important definition. Here it is. And this concerns perceptions and beauty's connection to pleasure or satisfaction. Why is it very important? Because today there's a lot of focus on ugliness. And ugliness, by definition, creates a situation in which we don't have the satisfaction that we would have when we see beauty. And traditionally, beauty was a form of healing for people who felt ugly or something happened to them that took beauty away from them or diminished beauty. So beauty has traditionally been focused on being an antidote to those feelings of inadequacy or lack of satisfaction from ugliness around. So beauty traditionally has been treasured as a very important part of life. And we'll also look at what Wikipedia talks about in terms of definition of life from this concept. Right, here it is. Wikipedia is awesome. And we have life is a characteristic that distinguishes physical entities that have biological processes such as signaling and self-sustaining processes from those that do not, either because such functions have ceased, they have died, or because they've never had such functions that are classified as inanimate. So right here you have contrast between life and death, and then beauty is only possible where there is life, because by definition there is no beauty in death. We are in the spiritual environment today in which people who are Christians or Gentiles searching for God celebrate God's conquest of death, and that creates resurrected beauty that never dies. And this is the power of presence of God as Jesus Christ of Nazareth on earth, because he has that ability to turn ultimate ugliness, that is death, into life that is, by definition, resurrection that overcomes that ugliness. So we see that beauty is very important in God's plan of conquering the ugliness that is created by bad things. So we should talk about beauty very seriously as important. Traditionally, in schools, beauty was highly treasured. Beauty was considered that part of living experience that has power to elevate us from ugliness. And that includes ugliness of social connections. When you look at traditional modes of chivalric conduct, I come from northern Poland, from Gdansk, Danzig, royal city of Gdansk, with huge traditions of beauty, from Jagiellonian Polish kings, from Teutonic monks who worshipped Mother of God Mary, beauty as presence of God in our lives, Templar monks who treasured beauty in connections and finance and banking. So I grew up with appreciation of that heritage of beauty as socially relevant and as perceptually important, because it creates social connections that are based on pleasure and satisfaction and not on pain and constant fight for justice. So I decided to talk about those two, beauty and life, together, so that we understand that when we bring a lot of ugliness, demanding satisfaction without promotion of beautiful connections, what turns out is more ugliness, and there is never satisfaction. There is even a song that is very famous that was created and sung by Rolling Stones, "There Can Be No Satisfaction." And that song actually has many multiple meanings, but one of those meanings is there cannot be satisfaction in ugly security, because Mick Jagger understood the presence of royal security as higher than presence of ugly atheistic security that does not understand and promote beauty. So I think that we should create ways in which we promote development of beautiful social perceptions, and that would create pleasurable connections between people, delightful connections that would end up in conversations of friendship, curiosity, development. There are so many amazing things to learn from what we inherit, for what we create. So this is the way to go, not the current way of constant demand for justice, for punishment, for penance. It's really very depressing to even hear this. And instead of this, let's develop beautiful ways of interacting. It's better to promote something good than demand that good be divided and distributed as a form of satisfaction. Beauty is a better form of creating satisfaction and pleasure, and it is connected with life. I've been in many situations in my life that I had to make decision to pursue justice and then destroy my health, or let go of certain things and pursue beauty and divine measures of beauty. And this has proven to be very successful in my life. And I think that that's a much better way to go than what is happening today with young people being organized around ugly ways to deal with lack of beauty. I think that in America we have great heritage of beauty. First, from the English royal ways of the colonies, a lot of perceptual beauty was created. When I got to Harvard University first in the late 80s as a student in summer school, I couldn't believe what I was connecting to. I was connecting to the most beautiful perceptual royal ways, and I felt safe because I was born with royal crown. So I felt that my crown was not restrained and attacked, and it was happening right here in Cambridge at Harvard University. And the reason is that the life of the beauty is still powerful because generations of students and professors continued search for beauty. And of course it was transformed around American Revolution times. It was transformed to new ways of looking at social organization. It created independence of America from English monarchs, but it never abandoned searched for beauty, pleasure, satisfaction, and life that comes from beauty of divine measures of the highest way. It just created independent American royal search for beauty, and very few people talk about it, but I decided to talk about it because we don't have to start from scratch in our pursuit of beauty. This British way, and over the last few hundred years, American way was developed. I just give name to it. You all have it around you. You all think that something is missing, and you don't know really how to put it in words. But this is what you are missing. You don't want to be degraded as Americans and residents of this majestic, beautiful America to level of perceptual ugliness and decaying ways of lack of satisfaction from perceptual death. So we need perceptual life. When you look at a lot of the ways in which people interact today, it's very aggressive. It's either obvious or hidden way of attack. And it is very ugly, because why would you want to attack somebody who you don't even know? The positive way is to create contact of beauty and perceptual nobility first, and then engage in conversations, in learning, in opening up friendship pathways. And that is traditional American way. When you look at the writings of Thomas Jefferson, Federalists, when you look at the a beautiful way of George Washington, who was an amazing man. The more I learned about him, the more I realized what a beautiful, noble person he was. And I'm not surprised that God selected him to create vision for America. But God never wanted America to become ugly and decaying. God wanted America to develop her own royal connection directly from Kingdom of God. And that created the foundation for beauty of America and the pleasure that comes from creating and connecting to perceptions of American beauty and life. So when you focus on search for beauty and life, You don't have to worry so much about fights for justice or fights for making things fair, because they may end up leading you to lack of life. Justice without life is completely nonsensical. There is a place in which justice has to be applied, but it shouldn't be substitute for beauty, goodness, nobility, and friendship. This is what I'm saying. What the younger generation of Americans is experiencing now is a lot of focus on justice as substitute for everything else. And I think it's an error. The way is to focus on beauty and life, create pleasurable connections and perceptions, and then have a higher level of understanding of what the right measures are. Because if you look at ugly standard of measures and then try to find fairness within this, you'll never be satisfied, because there's no beauty in it and there's no life in it. But when you start discovering beauty, and beauty is so connected to the idea of life, you cannot force it. You have to discover it. You are born with it. You receive it from light of God. It's a very delicate being of existence. You cannot demand beauty to show up in your face. It won't happen. The beauty will not obey you. Ugliness will, and it will make you very dissatisfied, because ugliness by definition is lack of beauty. So I would rather focus on search for beauty and believe that God can enhance the beauty I was born with and you were born with, because very specifically the biblical teaching is that God gave a measure of beauty to everybody. Some have more, some have less, but everybody has some measure of beauty, and that is connected with our life. So long as we are alive, we can connect to that beauty. There's beauty that is resurrection within life we have here, and then there's beauty that is in kingdom of God, in heaven, after we make it there. Not everybody will make it there. I encourage you to think about it. Like, I have fear of God. I know God's power. I know what He can do. So my foundation of beauty is that I will not miss the eternal beauty while doing the right things here on earth. It is not an easy thing, but that is one of the ways in which we can connect to ultimate beauty that is God Himself and that is real. Again, you cannot demand God to do certain things. He is the one who is the ruler. He is the one who runs kingdom of God and runs everything here on earth. So the attitude of demand for justice from God created a lot of unnecessary pain, because at this moment people who do this want to put demand not only on people around them whom they consider somehow perpetrators of the pain and suffering, but then they start putting that demand on God, and that makes God very angry. It's not worth to do it. Whereas if we focused on God in loving attention and loving attitude and ask God to show His ways and His beauty and His life, you will see that a lot of what we perceive as lack of justice in this environment is simply lack of knowledge of high ways in which people can develop perceptions of such loving connections that they can work things out through conversations, through relationships, through stability in their relationships, through shared connections because of a shared heritage. There are many wonderful ways to connect at levels higher than just human justice. So I encourage all of us to abandon that futile way of demanding the right measures in human terms and instead focus on getting beautiful measures from Kingdom of God that come with life. And when we have that within us, when we realize that getting life from God cannot be demanded from Him, it's His gift for us. What is more precious than that? There is pure love in divine life and divine beauty. And that creates more opportunities to create beautiful and loving and living connections with other people. And I think that this is what needs to be restored in America and many other countries too. Many other countries didn't really lose that. But in America, there's been a lot of loss over the focus on beauty and life. And I'm trying to restore it through talking about the need to focus on it at the highest level. At the highest level in America today, there is just focus on justice, crimes, fault finding, shaming people, like even like Robert Kraft. I mean, the man brought so much beauty and love to mankind. How can you shame a man like that? But this temptation to find power through human ways of justice turned very ugly, to the point that some people want to watch someone's private matters in public. I think it's degradation of social sense of respect for each other. I'd rather connect on beauty, on focusing on loving ways, on creating such circumstances that the word crime doesn't even show up. That should be also very rare. The system in which we organize societies shouldn't be designed on the foundation of what is crime, what is not a crime. They should be designed on foundation from Kingdom of God, of what is noble, what is harmonious, what is peaceful, what is loving. And then certain things can be defined as crime, but not instead of those noble, beautiful things. So the concept of justice and crime wanted to create elimination of everything else and to make all the measures decided by those definitions of what is crime and how to enforce the punishment and how to create justice around this. In Europe, it got so bad that they even created monstrosity called International Criminal Court. They didn't even bother to use the word justice. They just knew that there is no justice, there is just crime, and then force to put a person to penance because of that real or perceived crime. A lot of those crimes are not really crimes at all in God's law. And that is another strange thing. People became so cruel in designing laws that they start offending God, because you shouldn't create laws that are defying God's law of love and mercy and peace and harmony. So let's restore our focus on beauty, and let's restore our focus on goodness and good things. And let's do this